Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today I have a founder of Third Rock Academy and Foundation with me. Please help me welcome Dr. Sandhya Bodapati. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for sitting with me and talking about, what we're going to talk about today. So before starting anything, we'll give ma'am's introduction to the audience. So ma'am, you have done Masters and PhD in French and second language acquisition, and you have taught in United States at University of Maryland near Washington DC, and you've also taught in Canada at Kingsway College School, and you've taught in India at Alliance Francaise, in France at University of Nice. You taught English over there. And talking about your background, you've also did question paper setting, and you've trained the people for corrections in advanced placement French. As you know, I've learned French from you, and your teachings really helped me accelerate my French language. My main focus was to give TEF Canada exam because I am an immigrant, and in order to make my immigration profile stronger, I had to learn French so I can get enough points. Usually what happens is when students come to Canada, they do not have enough points to gather so that they can apply for permanent residency. Once I started learning French, my first phase, like 4 to 5 months, that was self-taught, so I was clear with the basics, but I wasn't really able to improve myself. I had a certain plateau, but when I was able to get your teachings and understand all the different aspects that are very important to succeed in TEF Canada, thank you so much again. Okay, that was really helpful. And today we are going to talk about Third Rock Academy and Foundation, and what as a founder, what is this foundation and academy about. So I'm just gonna ask you a lot of questions. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your time.
When we talk about Third Rock Academy and Foundation, what was your main motive to start Third Rock Academy?
So this came about as honestly, it sounds cliche, but it really was a vision to combine my passion for teaching French specifically with my passion for wildlife and habitat conservation. Nature continues to inspire me in beautiful ways, and I'm a big animal lover. So having seen firsthand, having grown up also in places like India, Indonesia, and East Africa, wildlife has been very close to me, to my heart. So having seen firsthand what our species is doing to earth and to wildlife, like I think about close to 70% of species have been lost since 1970 alone. So in the last 50 years, we've destroyed about 70% of species. So this is very important. This is very close to my heart. So my intention in starting Third Rock Academy and its giving arm, Third Rock Foundation, is to teach French and to use those funds to support organizations that are doing the critical work of rescuing, saving, rehabilitating, and almost as much as possible releasing these animals back into the wild where they truly belong, and reforestation efforts around the world.
Okay, that's so amazing effort, ma'am. We usually do not see a lot of people worried about environment these days, but something like this, we should be promoting it more, so that not only see over here, it's like two things at one time. You're learning French, but also whatever the money is coming, that goes to for the preservation, wildlife preservation, and helping out animals, and flora and fauna, which needs us to save them, right? So it's a great initiative. So far, what you have been able to change with all the money that you would have collected for in terms of the foundation perspective?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking, because people need to know where their money is going,
right.
What causes that money is supporting. There's a on the website on thirdrockacademy.org, there's a section called Our Impact, where people can go and see the stories about the causes that we've supported. So to date, we've rescued, the money has gone towards the rescue and rehabilitation of about 8 elephants, 2 orangutans, some reforestation efforts. And I forgot to mention earlier that the foundation also supports schooling, particularly high school and university education for students. For the time being, it's in India and Indonesia, but the goal is to really spread as far as wide as possible. So 65% of all the money that has come in so far has already gone towards these causes.
Okay.
One more thing I would like to add is with the organizations that Third Rock Foundation supports, students have the opportunity of letting me know where they want their money to go. So, for example, if it's Orangutan Foundation International, the money will go towards symbolically adopting an orangutan that they have rescued, and the students will get a foster adoption certificate saying thank you for fostering, and they'll get a kit that tells them about the orangutan they've adopted, their life story, how they came to be rescued, and how they're doing right now. Or organizations in India, for example, One Life SOS, which rescues and rehabilitates elephants. In East Africa, it's through two organizations called Sheldrick Wildlife Trust or Rescue, RETITI. So there's symbolic adoptions possible. So then people can actually make a personal connection with an animal and feel good about their money going towards rescuing and helping another sentient being.
That's right. It becomes more personal, when you actually see what is, like where your money is getting used to for the good causes.
Absolutely.
So it's great.
And funding even the education, if the person receiving the scholarship wants to be identified, because it's also a matter of respecting their dignity. If they want to be recognized, if they want to be identified, then it's possible for them to follow their education journey. So they will know where their money is going.
That's amazing. Okay, now let's talk about French teachings, and a lot of students, they already know about Alliance Française or all the different institute all around the world basically. What are your main key aspects when let's say when you teach a student, because you have a lot of experience, what are the main key aspects that you touch on when teaching a student so they can really accelerate learning French in a proper way?
That's a wonderful question. People will wonder why they should come to Third Rock versus going to an organization like the one that you've mentioned. I myself am a product of the Alliance Française. That's where I first started learning French. What I'm able to offer is being able to leverage the languages that I speak. I speak about 7.5 languages. I'm able to help people relate to their first language. And I'm also familiar with some of the European languages, even though I don't speak them. I'm able to understand, and I have like Spanish or Italian. I can read and I can understand. Or if someone is speaking, I can figure out what they're saying. So if I have a student who's a Spanish first language speaker, or if I have someone who's a Hindi first language speaker, for example, I can help them draw on their first language knowledge to find parallels to French. And in doing so, some of the trickier aspects, for example, like gender, like French is a Romance language, and nouns have genders.
Right.
House is feminine, une maison, versus blackboard, for example, is masculine, un tableau. So for some people where their first language has nouns that are gendered, I can draw parallels. In Hindi, for example, why is it meri kitab? Why is that feminine? But the same person will say mera ghar. Right? Yeah. So ghar is masculine, kitab is feminine. So I can help people draw parallels. And that, from feedback that I've had from my students, they've told me that has helped them a lot. So that's one thing, being able to tap into many of the languages that I already know and help people find correlations. And I'm able to break down grammar, for example, which can be tricky for many people, into sort of really smaller, practical chunks that they can visualize, and then they can apply and practice, and then it becomes part of their spontaneous language. They don't have to then think about it as much.
That's right. And I will actually take an example of mine over here, because when I was preparing for TEF Canada, especially writing part for the French, and like for most of the students, that's the hardest part to conquer. But for me, the most confident that I had in was writing, because you were really able to clear out those past tenses where this tense will be used, and where do we actually, how do we build up the story while respecting all the tenses in a proper way. So yeah, I personally, I do understand why those things are very important why it's very important to get a proper guidance regarding those things. So yeah, that was a great experience. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Like being able to use certain past tenses or the subjunctif, for example, it bumps up your proficiency level.
Right.
So when the person is correcting your exam and they can see that you can navigate these tricky tenses really well, it automatically bumps up your proficiency level, and you move up the CFR scores.
That's true. Okay, ma'am. So I know this question will be very generic. It will be a very broad question, but usually, how much time, if we start from scratch, how much time it will take for a person to learn a language, given the case if he or she is wanting to talk just for talking purposes, just for understanding purposes, or for exam purposes? What time range it can be?
So if it is functional French, so I would say at about an A2 level, a low B1, a higher A2 level, I would say about 6 months.
Okay.
With consistency and with focused learning, I would say about 6 months. But if it is for exam purposes and someone is starting from scratch,
Right.
And they want to score at the high B2 level, I would say a minimum of 3 hours a day consistently for a year.
Right. And yes, that was the same case with me. I started French back in April 2021. I had a break of 4 months, for that big chunk, which I wouldn't include, because in that time I didn't really study any French. So if you go regularly, yes, 3 hours. In my case, I was working full time, so it's not that productive 3 hours. Sometimes it can be up and down. But yeah, if you go out with the average 3 hours every day, 1 year is a time where you'll be, for me, because I was good enough to get TEF Canada. So
those 3 hours don't have to be in class time.
That's
so, let's say you do 1 hour of class a week or 2 hours of classes a week with the teacher, with the instructor, then you still have to do your work.
That's right. Yes.
That's not all class time. That's what you do on your own as well.
Yes.
But with guidance and with the materials and with very targeted feedback about here's what you need to focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
When I started, I was under this wrong impression that, when we talk about spending 3 hours every day, how would it be? Is it like 3 hours every day of teaching and then I do my own work? It's more about repetitions, trying yourself all the different combinations and repeating and then learning slowly. So that's why corrections and then your practice and then guidance, your practice, guidance, your
Right.
practice is the way to go. Okay, so now let's say if someone is looking for any specific exam, let's say DELF or TEF Canada, TCF Canada, do you also prepare students for those as well, and how do you do so?
Yes. So DELF and DALF kind of almost come with the territory. Like
Okay.
if you are studying for TEF, along the way DELF and DALF become milestones. You can sign up for DELF and DALF exams as external candidates.
Okay.
Like you can go to your local Alliance Française or the organization that is authorized to
Right.
conduct those exams, because you have the proficiency. You can appear as an external candidate and you might as well get a certificate.
That's right.
You're learning, so you might as well get a certificate. Of course, TEF is a longer process.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. So my approach to teaching, my pedagogy and the materials I use are all aligned with the CEFR guidelines, so the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is where the A1 to the C2 scale is based.
Right.
That's what that scale is based on.
Okay.
So DELF, DALF, TEF, TCF, TEFAC for Quebec,
for Quebec.
AP, IB, so these are more high school programs.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's great. And so as we talked about Quebec, I'll mention one more thing. There was a law passed in Quebec government. They passed a law. That law name is Bill or L96. Okay, so that was passed, in which only French will be the first official language of Quebec. So it's very hard for immigrants, just to come over there and they see everything in French. So that's also one of the reasons why I would motivate, you to learn French if you're coming, especially to Quebec. Yeah, would you like to say anything to the audience who is watching? Would you, like to give the close remarks?
Thank you. It's very kind of you. I'm immensely grateful, humbled, and honored that Vyom, you would take the time to talk to me and to shed some light on the work that I do. So I teach all the classes, even though it's an academy and a foundation. I'm the one organizing and planning and teaching. And my main goal, like I said, is my love for French started when I was in India at the Alliance. So the more people that learn French, the teacher in me is thrilled and happy. Right. And if in the process we can all, it is not me, I'm just the person behind the academy, but it's really a collective effort. It's all of us making a difference in the world. I'd be humbled and honored if I can help anyone in this journey for whatever purposes it is that you're learning French. If I can help you in this journey, it would be an honor and a privilege.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like, I'm really honored that I got your guidance, I got your teachings, and I was able to learn French in a very accelerated amount of time with all your efforts given to me as well. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. And if you want to reach out to Sandhya ma'am, you can do so. You can go to the internet website, which is www.thirdrockacademy.org, and you can also follow on Instagram third.rock.academy and third.rock.foundation. And this is all. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again, and have a good day.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne
Merci.
journée.
Bonne journée.